Here's the thing. Like I always tell people, if you're gonna ask me a question, I'm gonna give you the full answer.
That's what I say too.
Like I'm gonna give you a full answer. And it's gonna be my opinion based. It's gonna be what I've seen based, what works, what doesn't work. You're not just gonna ask me one question. I'm just gonna give you a simple answer. It's gonna be this long diatribe of probably shit to you. I don't know. Maybe you don't like it, but
what the fuck, dude? I just got a tornado warning on my phone.
That's fine. You guys are gonna get Odell Beckham soon. It won't matter, and no one will care. No one will care. Odell's going to Seattle. Doesn't matter.
I need to step outside for 3 seconds.
All right. So Dustin lives in Seattle. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah. I just got done telling my mom it feels like we're gonna have a tornado.
Yeah, this is what it feels like.
Yeah.
People,
Which room should we play in?
the lowest point of the house. This is the safest room. Yeah, look, there's nothing above your head. This is safest room. We got heavy shit in here. Yeah, this is most definitely the safest room. We could also, I got paracord tire stuff to the weightlifting rack.
Are you done with your podcast?
No, we just started. You just clicked it on. Keep an eye out. How many people step away in a podcast? You don't see the tornado outside.
I just want you to know that everything that you and your wife were saying, I'm leaving it in. I'm leaving all of it in. It was perfect. What's the lowest room in the house? I don't know. Let's stay inside the power rack. Nothing will fall around it. That's why I have this home gym. It's fine.
Noted.
Oh, it's good stuff. So it says,
I make that up.
You're moving to Japan now.
No.
Yes. Yes, you are.
No.
Yeah, no. Do I work with one pro rugby player. It's amazing. You should do it.
I've had a lot of conversations with people on varying things like that. From because when you get into international sports and stuff like that, from Australia to other things. Obviously, my best friend's been a coach in New Zealand for several years now.
For the All Blacks?
So I've had a lot of opportunities to have conversations about what's going on in the kind of international strength conditioning realm, and what that looks like. And these are just conversations that we have. Mm-hmm. But I mean, not to say that one of them won't come to life at some point, but
right.
There's a lot going on in our field. It's interesting. It's also weird that, I think the most interesting part is when people are seeking, the best of the best, how many people from America get pulled. Like there's no ego. It's just amazing in certain countries. Like you're looking for the best. Like I have a hard time believing that there isn't just some absolutely phenomenal strength and conditioning. I mean, there probably is, but in these other countries, but it does seem that we are, I don't know, we clearly must be ahead of the game, or producing people that are ahead of the game in regards to performance training. Because there's a lot of high powered coaches that they get pulled across the world to practice this craft. And I would have thought, especially for like Olympic teams and stuff like that, they would have, they just pull the cream of the crop from their own country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, I mean, the money's here. I mean, the money's here. And I mean, with the exception of those upper tier pro rugby, like the country's teams, like the New Zealand All Blacks, like the Wallabies, like those big teams, like maybe the Premier League of soccer.
Sure.
Maybe. I don't even know, but like all the money's here. And it just pulls people here. And it's America too. Mm-hmm. If you live overseas and you've never been to America and you have a job opportunity in America, nets you a lot of money. And you get to be Americanized. Yeah, you want to come here.
Yeah. It's weird in that sense, too, because I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to have when you have, players making such vastly different amounts of money compared to the people that are actually, coaching them.
Yeah.
It's crazy that someone's making 50-fold what one of their coaches is making to get them to do it. If that's the case, it's kind of a weird thing to think about. It just is. It's a weird thing to think about. It's also crazy to think about how much money we put into those things. It's hard for me to process how much money we pay pro athletes. Not that they don't deserve a substantial amount of money, especially when it comes to sports that the likelihood of death is high, which I think I've said before, but it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. No, and I guess you could debate this because in NFL, what does an NFL strength coach do? Like on the whole, not very much, but you take one level down, collegiate strength coaches, how much do they do?
Right.
They do a lot.
Right.
And they're not being paid, you have maybe one or two handfuls who are heads of major Power 5 conference schools.
Yes.
They're being paid what they need to be paid. But other than that,
they're
not being paid what they need to be
No,
paid.
that's an interesting thing when you lay it out as far as like the workload and the amount of stuff that can be done. I want to have my buddy Chris on to have that conversation too, because we've had these conversations about like kind of reinventing the high school strength coach, because when you lay it out like you are, the higher you go, the work is different. The things you look at, you have more tools and things at your disposal. But when it comes to the ability to develop humans, there's a lot more work to be done and a lot more things that can go wrong. I could debate this in a few different ways, but you got a lot more foundation laying work to do in those earlier years of athletes as you go through. College is one of those tremendous ones because you got people that, you have the ability to change someone's life potentially. If it's like, we can get this person developed to this degree, they might have a shot at something phenomenal in an athletic career. So I think college definitely, there's a lot of reason and drive to get someone developed to that degree, especially if they're on the cusp of doing something amazing, after college. So yeah, it's interesting.
No, as you have too, you've seen like what it looks like at a Division 3 level, a Division 1 level, a pro level. We've both seen like the tactical level. Like when I think about the Division 3 level, and I think about the coaches that I knew at Division 1 level, I almost think to myself, like the kids at Division 3 need that Division 1 coach, like need the skill level more to upbring them more, because the guys that go to Division 1, like an OSU, like that's here, it's 3 blocks away from my house, like they're studs. You can literally just give them a training table so they can eat 24 hours a day, put them on hammer machines, and they're just gonna get huge, and they're genetically fast twitch anyway. There's really I'm not saying that strength coaches at that level don't do anything. There are a lot of strength coaches I know that just push the envelope of what they're doing all the time, and they get them exponentially better.
The sports coach too at that level, because that's interesting that you bring that up, because I played on a college team that was very much based around trying to outsmart people on the field and not physicality them on the field, which was the polar opposite of what I came from in high school. We would legitimately tell the other team what play we were going to run, and our coach had the expectation that we were that much more physically dominant that it didn't matter.
That's the dream.
And then to go to the other thing.
That's the dream.
But when you lay it out, like you have physically dominant teams that and I've seen this, the level of play is not incredibly technical, or we should say the play calling and the layout and stuff like that. I've seen some incredibly archaic, bad layouts with really good athletes that make that work and make that system work. I think that's why it's important to be a dynamic coach, and you want to be able to apply whatever your team gives you as far as what they are are going to do. It's basically the argument of, am I going to play the best 11 or the 11 best? It's the whole notion, like these are the 11 people that are going to play the best together, not just the individual 11 best athletes I can put on the field. But it's that in an essence where, you can out physical people if you're presented with that opportunity. But if you're a very, very savvy coach, I think that we try to do that for sure at the division, that we try to out savvy people as far as play calling and tricking people and outsmarting people, which was, so different. Like there's a whole mindset that goes with playing like that I can appreciate much more now than I could then. If anything, it hurt my brain at that time because it was such a shift of how I knew to play the game. It was a different game. I was not in love with football in college because it was a different game than I had subscribed for, which was, I played Ironman football, 3 ways.
Yeah.
You didn't come off the field. There was no, your breasts were timeouts, not actually coming out the field in halftime, to playing one side of the ball, because that's typically what, any level college is going to be one side of the ball, and like being a spectator for a majority of the game. That was a weird shift for me, for sure. But yeah, I'm going on a side note now.
No. I mean, it comes down to, is it the Jimmys and Joes or the X's and O's? And I mean, you can have a really good coach and just, horrible ass talent, but that guy just knows how to manipulate every variable, very good at it. Or here's something, you have a quarterback that has a moderate arm and you have Randy Moss.
Right.
At that point, like, I'm gonna have you run a post. We'll catch it 9 out of 10. We'll make 20 yards apiece.
Yes.
And then the end zone, hopefully we'll just get our defensive lineman, as we've already discussed, pound it right in, like from 3 yards out. Like,
yep. And it's hard to fault a coach for that, but that can also, it makes a weird
team. Oh, high school team killed our team.
It makes a weird dynamic, because then it's inevitable. You can't not kind of put those players on a pedestal at that point, because, you got to be honest. Like obviously it's a team sport, but you just know, like, you take a couple of people out of the equation and everything drastically changed. I've seen one player, like single players in high school, that single-handedly, and I mean single-handedly, I think it's easier to do at the lower levels. You have a very, very talented person on a young team, at an adolescent level, and one kid's just unbelievably physically superior and dominant.
Yeah.
It can make things. I mean, that's why they made that rule. I don't know if it's across the country, but we had that rule that a kid in the junior high level, they couldn't carry the football if they're over a certain, weight, basically.
No, I've never heard this rule at all. That does not exist in the Midwest.
We have this. We have this.
Not exist that. No.
Leave it to
us liberals. You liberals out there.
I'm sure all my friends from Texas are like, "Oh, this is what's wrong. Like this is
what's wrong with America."
We knew there was something wrong with you Washingtonians, and this is it. Yeah, if a kid's over a certain weight at a certain level, they can't like play running back. Because you get Haas just carrying this ball and running people over, and you can't do anything to stop it. And you get too many parents in Washington that think every kid needs a trophy, and you got one kid that clearly got the trophy. It doesn't sit well with him, but that's one of those things. But anyhow, that must be unique here. It's a little disappointing to see, but yeah. Anyhow, I've seen single-handedly. I've seen grown men at the high school level, multiple teams when I was playing, obviously paying really close attention, single-handedly carry teams because they were men among boys. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that was my high school when I was playing. I had the same thing. We had a quarterback. He started from the day he came in as a 9th grader. Like he was legitimate, a young Peyton Manning. Full ride to UVA. Like I've told you stories about other guys that are on that team, just like really freaky kids that went on to like play at Pitt, like just freaky human beings. Like, and it revolved around them. And you get to state championship game. Quarterback, God bless his soul, like is an option, and blows out his ankle, and that was it for that game. That was the end.
Yeah,
we did not win that game.
Yep,
did not win. The other team actually, just like you said, had 2 players, the Rose brothers. Who could run easy 4 threes, and they were the only play in their book was one of you is gonna take pitch it, and that one pitch is going to run to the sideline, go up, and as long as he can beat you, it's gone. There was no pursuit angle. That was great enough. That was grand enough to catch that, man.
Yep.
So awesome. I ended up coaching them at James Madison. Like, that's so great. Studs.
Yeah, no,
Studs.
it is. And it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's fun to watch if you're on their team. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Really sweet.
I mean,
really sweet.
At some level, I appreciate it. I appreciated guys that played like that. I appreciated anyone. It was a little bit more difficult to say in the moment. I guess I could say when I played against those guys, I respected them. I didn't appreciate them.
No, you have to respect them though, or you have no chance.
Them.
You have no chance.
Now I really appreciate them, because especially coming from a small town in a little bit of a different era before you had, private coaches and
were you in a
things
private
like that.
school?
I was not.
Okay.
No, just regular old farm town varsity blues school for sure.
Okay.
But when you come, I think now back on certain players, and that the only thing that was transpiring was they were doing it all on their own. The extra work they were putting in, how they were figuring out what extra work to do. I mean, they had a good culture around them, and they probably had some coaches that pushed them and things like that. But it's really, you appreciate the people that are just wired to just absolutely dominate and are satisfied with nothing more than being the best they can, and will do anything to be the best they can. You realize how rare those people are. And I didn't appreciate that, until you go out in the world and you realize how few people are actually wired that way, to conduct themselves like that.
Yeah. Now talk about young. Oh, you're being told again.
I'm being told again. This is ridiculous.
This is your phone?
Well, this one's a little bit more serious because this one says, "Too late. If you're outside, don't do anything. Shut your car off and stay in your car."
Really? Man, you people up in Washington. I'll tell you what. Do you need to go check on everyone? Are they huddling on the power rack?
You know what's funny? I was like, we've only had like one tornado ever in Washington, and now I'm thinking,
well, now that we're doing this, it has to happen now.
It has to
happen now.
It happened less than a mile. It happened less than a mile from our house.
Oh, really?
So we live in a weird, obscure tornado zone apparently now.
Okay.
Damn it.
Okay.
I'm sure my wife's paying attention.
Okay.
This is why, yeah, I've been talking about a bunker for years. For years.
Is that like a conservative like Biden's gonna sink the country bunker, or is that
100%? But it was.
Okay.
This is a pre-Biden idea. This was a. I was not a normal kid. I was questioning. I was questioning things. I was questioning things at an age when adults couldn't answer my questions in school. Which is also. I mean, I've had that issue with everything. I had questions. I would seek the professional. If I had a science question, I asked the science teacher. If I had a weightlifting question, I asked the weightlifting coach, the PE teacher. No one could provide me answers to my questions ever. I didn't say a lot, and I was pretty thoughtful about my questions, but I was perpetually felt like I was trapped for 14 years of my life where like I could not get answers to my questions. So 10 grand at GNC and some experimentation, and I got my own answers.
Excellent. It's the best way. Just got to learn yourself.
And that's how we got here. I mean, we haven't done true introductions, but that's all you need to know.
Right.
I spent more money than anybody else on supplements at supplement stores and training books and you name it. I've eaten the meat. I've spit out the bones. And that's how I actually got here. That's how we're having this conversation.
Right. Now talking about like young football players. Did you see anything about Henry Ruggs?
No.
Did you see that? Yeah, okay,
No.
so Ruggs is one of the 2020 picks for the Raiders.
Okay.
Along with a cornerback named Arnett, who actually just got kicked off the team for making, I think, life threats and brandishing a firearm. But the week before, their first 2020 round pick, Henry Ruggs, was going, I think it was 156, and then went right into the back of this girl's RAV4. Now, it went from 156 miles an hour to 127 on impact. This RAV4 blew up.
Yeah, of course.
So it went. I mean, obviously, it's he was driving a Corvette, which is a
Okay,
whole
so
other
it's-
discussion we could have
so
about
he's-
why a 22-year-old is driving a Corvette. He's not 65, so that's a whole other situation. But the
Yeah.
nose, obviously, is already low.
Yeah.
His dives even
You-
lower.
a
Scrapes it,
wedge.
pops up, smacks it. So the girl, obviously, like on the raft, she dies. So does her dog. The Ruggs survives, as does his girlfriend, in this this tin can Corvette.
I am familiar with the story.
Yeah.
now.
How, like, he's facing like 45 years. Like, he hasn't been sentenced yet or anything, but that's what the prosecution's telling him. And they found a firearm in the vehicle.
I think the firearm is the least of our concerns.
At this point, yeah, well, no, 100%. But at the same time, like, why are you?
Because
You
I
learned
mean
from
that's.
Plexico. You don't need to wear that.
I mean, I don't want to do that, but I want to give the dude the benefit of the doubt. It's like he was coming back. He was I mean, I can't do it.
You can't. There's
I can't do it. But
it's like misloading an 800-pound bench. It's not. You can't do it.
I wanted to give the dude. I was putting myself in his shoes. I wouldn't have been doing the speed, but if I die with a weapon in my car, which is highly likely, I don't want to
die. He's alive.
Oh, I mean, okay. If I got in a horrific car accident, I lived, and my real issue was, let's say I was drinking and driving or something like that, but there happened to be a weapon in my car. I would hope that I'm not getting charged with issues of the weapon if I'm, legally can have that weapon.
Yeah.
And they make the issue about the weapon as opposed to, no, I've got other issues. The gun wasn't one of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
no, wasn't a deal.
Demonize the guy for what he did, but not extra stuff on top of it. That's
right.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't even. Those kind of things are horrific. It's yeah. There's not. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
So what's Do you have any questions you want to shoot out before I shoot mine out? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, we didn't
do questions last time, did we?
Well, we did. We got to like one, I think, at the end, but we went rolling on some. You want to get us distracted? Just start talking bodybuilding stuff, and we get really distracted.
That was really bad.
That's what happened.
Oh yeah.
So I have last week's and this week's.
Okay.
So I can kind of cherry pick through these.
Okay.
The one I've gotten the most, and I got this the most in person too. Curious. I think this is a good
People talk to you in person?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I have friends. I would get a ton of questions. I get more questions as a personal trainer than I did. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that. As a strength, this should be a fun. I almost want to change the question because as a strength, what's the number one question you get asked as a strength coach? From an athlete, like college level.
Why?
What's the number one question you get asked as a personal trainer in just a gym? But that's not the question. The question is just how do you do what you do? If someone's going to ask you, someone, comes to your gym and sees you in there and be like, I want to be a young Joe. Teach me your ways, sensei. What do you tell them?
I would tell them to find another dream. That one's taken.
That's so
that one's taken.
You're saying it because it can't be you, but I say it. It's funny. I'll let you fully answer the question.
Okay.
But I say this because I like to deter people. My first thing when someone asks me, like, I want to be a strength coach or I want to do this, it's like, you don't want to do it. I try to turn them off from it so that they'll come back to me and be like, listen, I know you said that I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyhow.
Yeah.
Like I only want the defiant personality to do this job, because if you coming to me as a random person asking that question and me saying you shouldn't do it is enough to turn you off, then you shouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I always tell people don't do it, and I will continue to do that unless I find a better way. But I'm a huge I discourage people. It sounds terrible. I discourage people from doing this because, as a favor to them, because if you're easily discouraged, this is not a career path that you should ever even think about doing. And if you want to do it privately or independently or on your own, then that, I don't know. You think it's easier to do it on your own than do it the way you go? Let me answer the first question before I ask you. I'm making up my own questions now.
No.
Stick to the script. Stick to the script.
I think what you said, that's like, I would tell them like, well, it's not possible because there's only one me. It's not possible.
Yeah, you do not have. I'm sorry, friend. You don't have the mustache genetics to do what I do. But
I'm an only child, so all the love, care, and affection came to me, and rightfully so. So it's impossible. I like what you're saying though about like almost deterring them, because when it comes to even like training people for events, like I do try to break them. I try to break them. It's nothing personal. I do it, especially people that come to me and they're like, yeah, I trained a guy that got ready for him doing Marine recon. And I'm like, not a problem. These first 3 weeks are going to be really rough. And he kind of laughed like, okay, here we go. And my goal was to break his soul. And he didn't. He went through it. And then so after those 3 weeks, we leveled down and he went on and crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. I think there needs to be at least one opportunity that they have to be gut checked at. And I keep referencing back to like training people, but I've trained a lot of top level like CrossFitters, and at week 3, week 4, I know exactly where they're weak and where they're strong, especially mentally. So I find out where they're mentally strong. I kind of like tease them into that scenario, and then I try to break them again, because if they really want to do it, they'll do it.
Right.
But if someone comes to me and they're like, yeah, well, how do I become a strength coach? First thing, like I will be really, if I like them, I'll be really honest with them. I'll be like, dude, this may not be what you think it is. I think you see what you want to see. So you're seeing what they're putting on ESPN with Scott Cochran yelling at people. You're seeing Aaron Feld. You're seeing the guy from Northwestern. These are the people you're seeing on TV, and you think that's what it is. It's really not. It's really not. And few and far between ever get the opportunity to go to that level. I told them it is a boys club. It is. If you're not part of the club, like, dude, I can't say it can't be done. It has been done. There are people who have done it. But again, few and far in between, really few and far in between. And it comes down to, you're eventually going to be disenchanted by it at some point. And if you're not really into it, like we've discussed before, like I've told you, like those archetypes of coaches in my mind, those 3 archetypes. If you're not that one that really enjoys fucking training, you'll never, you'll burn, you'll stop, you'll quit. Like something will happen. There'll be an excuse. So that'd be my answer in a nutshell.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally get that. That's a side note, but the tribalism that's involved in our setting, I don't think it's a bad thing that necessarily. The whole good old boys club is a double-edged sword. You also said something, that CrossFit thing, that I'm extremely interested in diving down in the future too. So don't make a note right now. The whole testing a CrossFit athlete to take them into deep water, because I love
that's my specialty. That's my specialty.
Well, you think about it, because this is that thing. CrossFit programming, the early CrossFit was so devoid of like good sound programming. So, and I like CrossFit for the stance that you have to take sound programming to compete in an event that is completely random.
Yeah, sound programming. That's a test. Real weak. Yeah.
And that's a progression that's gotten better in the CrossFit realm, as far as like, okay, once you figured out why these good athletes were actually doing good repeatedly, as opposed to early CrossFit, which was, these are just slightly better humans that
just collegiate baseball harder. Players.
Right. It's not that anymore. It can, like everything, it evolves. But it's a weird thing. It's more reminiscent of the tactical environment, because you're taking this controlled environment to prepare someone for an uncontrolled environment. And you can say that about sport and all these other things too, but the CrossFit one's interesting because it's controlled in the sense that you can guess what movements and things might transpire or might be utilized. At the same time, you're trying to prep for something that you don't necessarily know. Is this movement going to be tested in the strength realm? Is it going to be tested in the endurance round? But come back to that.
That's a good one. That's a real deep one. I can give you some insight to that. Fun stories.
I like that, and I've gotten some interesting conversations with some CrossFit people on that realm. That it's talking programming and prepping and things like that. It's very interesting. But yeah, I am honest with some people, and they say like, well, how do I do that? I do steer people. Well, if you want to do this. If I'm honest with them, it's like, if I'm not going to deter you, or when they ask that question the second time, like, get as much education as you can, not necessarily schooling, but it's like, go find people and don't pigeon your hole in a realm. Learn as much as you can from professionals that have been successful in strength, sport, whatever that you're interested in. I would cross-contaminate as much as possible, and expand your horizon. Find the best people, or at least the people that seem to be doing the best. You'll never know for sure until you go to learn from them. But just get as much education as you can, and then practice it yourself. Because acquiring knowledge and owning knowledge are not the same thing. Beyond what they necessarily need, the basic certifications, stuff like that. Like, go get those. These are the ones that are more legitimate than others. These are the ones that if I look at it, at least it tells me, it doesn't tell me that you're a good coach or anything like that. It just tells me that you've asked the right questions and you've started the process at least in the correct realm, as opposed to someone coming to me and be like, what? I've never even heard of this certification. How much did it cost you?
Oh yeah.
$18. You took it online. How much experience do you have? So there is some level of your resume and your certifications that tell me at least like you've asked the right questions and you're pursuing this the right way. But after that, it is about getting that experience, that education, and it's different for everyone. But I definitely think the hands-on education, also why so many definitely biased toward college coaches, why college coaches can coach circles around everyone else, because they do it so much and they have to be there's such an efficiency that has to transpire at that level, because you're running a factory, you're doing it for so many hours a day, especially at that mid-major. That's where you can seriously cut some teeth, or even some D3 programs in the smaller level schools where you have less resources. So the only resource is to work harder. Dude, you get some coaches that are just made of steel
Clydesdales. Clydesdales of coaches.
That's where you're going to find it. Someone just can go without stopping. I mean, that's what you want to be, in my opinion, as a coach, is you want to be a Clydesdale. You can measure your success on a lot of levels, but if you're not one of the Clydesdales, you don't have the ability to do that and earn that, then, you'll never be satisfied with the career, I don't think, because you have to go there at some point to get there and really feel like, man, I'm capable of doing some serious work and plowing some serious ground. And that happens in that college environment, I think, more than anywhere. But you got a question, or you want me to keep rolling?
Actually, one more thing I want to play off yours. Actually, I got asked this from a soldier at Knox when I was there, because he wanted to get into what we're doing down the road, if not even just collegiately.
Yeah.
And he was, big gym rat, always ask good questions, so I was like, all right,
sure.
I told him, like, the number one thing you need to do, even before certifications, is, find a university around here, obviously Louisville, fucking 40 minutes up the road.
Yes.
And just say, hey, can I just come and observe?
That's it.
Get your foot in that door.
Yep.
They're not going to say no to you.
Nope.
I've never met a strength coach that, like, if you ask, can I just, like, hang out and observe, barring COVID being what COVID is.
Right.
Like, they wouldn't be like, yeah, sure. What the hell? Come in. And just hang out in the back corners, kind of watch, and then pick brains over it. And then that's gets your foot in the door. Yeah. And then if you come on a consistent basis, maybe you can start interning there.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then it just kind of springs into one thing after another.
Yeah, no, it's coming from someone who's very critical about atmosphere and environment and everything. Yeah. I'd let kind of a little bit eccentric goobers into my weight room if that's all they were asking to do. I had students ask all the time that had no desire of doing it, but they were doing a project or something like that. I know coaches that you would just be like, get the hell out of my weight room. Like, don't even come to my office again.
Yeah.
I was always open to letting them in there.
But those
I
are the
laid
fun
some
ones you
ground
keep
rules.
pursuing, though, right? You keep,
Absolutely.
like, I want to know. Now I'm gonna
And-
get in somehow.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, sometimes you have to be persistent with people too. I mean, I can't speak volumes enough too. It's like learning the environment. No is don't take this the wrong way, people, but you know, no means maybe. No means maybe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not referring to,
Sharp regulations. No.
Yeah, exactly. But in the realm of this, being persistent with things or going after stuff, when someone tells you no, this is exactly what I was getting at with why I deter people. When someone tells you no, that means maybe, you have to, it's just a test. A lot of people are test experience too. They know what's important. I'm testing people. So often I'm testing people to see if they can be a good friend.
Yeah.
I think any friend that I form this late in life, it's not because like I'm testing them.
Everything's a test.
Everything's a test.
Everything's a test. Al Pacino. Everything's a test.
I only had one test for you. Do you know what it was?
It's the Fraser test. Was it not the Fraser test? No.
There's a test before the Fraser test.
Okay, what was it? I missed it.
Everything after.
I must have achieved it. So I don't know.
Everything after the first test, I knew. You could be the exception to the rule. No, I gave you some confidential information, and it was information that wouldn't be so condemning or damning to me that if you told someone about it, would be my demise. But it was information that I gave you.
It was just enough to see if it. What did it have to do with our previous employment?
It could only can't speak of these matters on the air.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, no.
All right.
It was just a minor test. I just gave you information. There's like, oh, he's gonna have to keep this in because if I'm the only one that knows this, so if he says something, I know where.
And it's funny. It's funny. I've done it to people as well. Yeah. But I won't just kind of like, I won't like flat out just kind of see. I will blatantly tell them like, only you and me know this. So I'm gonna fucking burn you.
Yeah, I had to test you quickly though. I had to put you. Our friendship was the speed dating version of how do I get to the bottom of someone quickly? Because like, fuck, just met this guy. He might have potential, but I got to put him through the test immediately. Right, because this won't happen again.
Where did we first meet? Oh, we met in Loki's car.
That's right.
When he picked us up at El Paso.
We got picked up at the airport together in the same.
They went to Los Guachos. Not Los Guachos. Went to that Hispanic Hooters.
Yeah, everything gets so lost in the romantic stage of a relationship.
It does.
It's all blurred to me.
Especially surrounded by that many men.
That's right. We did go to that restaurant, which if I ever go back to those places, I know what restaurants I don't want to go to.
Yeah. No, and I actually know the good ones now.
Mm-hmm.
I do know the good ones now.
That's good.
Being there for as long as I have.
All right, your turn.
Yes. So okay. So this one actually came up last week. I gotta read this out loud because it's very well worded.
Okay, good.
I'm dealing with someone at the gym who I don't mind being at the gym with, but I don't like him. How do I break his soul in the weight room?
Oh, these are good questions.
No, this is a good one. I have a great story for this one too.
I have
a Westside story for this. This is great.
This might be one of the best questions I've ever.
How do you break a soul?
Oh my gosh. So is this like a gym? Or do you have more context on this question?
It's like a powerlifting-esque type gym.
But is this the person asking the question is like, I'm working out with this person?
It seems like they're in the same like training group.
Okay.
Like the 5 people.
Yeah. Gym dynamics are interesting.
I don't think. I'm not sure because I'm obviously I didn't hit him back, but I just gave him a thumbs up. But
I feel like we'll get T-shirts. I'm working on customizing the logo. We're keeping the same logo, obviously, for the podcast, but maybe some sort of T-shirts because if people ask like astoundingly good questions like this, regardless of how terrible our answers are, don't listen to us. You get a free T-shirt.
I can ship it out of Westside. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Not a problem. FedEx one.
So, gosh, I got to think about it for about 30 seconds because consistency is what breaks people. You do something hard repeatedly for days on end and not let someone leave. There's a lot of hard things you can do in a weight room, but if we have to do it in simple basics, like you're going to do some sort of intensity technique on a major movement, it's going to be done under a squat bar. It's going to be done on leg day.
There you go.
It's going to be under a squat bar. I mean, that's the sure. There's no other way to do it. There is no other way.
There's no other way. There's no way to escape.
There's no other way to escape. You can't do anything. You can't do it with a longer workout, or I could probably put someone through a giant set of legs that would make them do it. But one of those movements is still going to be a front squat or a back squat, or, I mean, I could probably put someone, crush their soul with a leg press, a leverage squat, and some dumbbell lunges or something like that for sure. But you're doing legs, it's going to be quad dominant. And that's how you snatch a soul. That is how you snatch a soul from someone's body. I mean, I've done some arm workouts that I puked during that people took me through, if I'm being honest.
Oh dear.
I've had some miserable things. When you're if you're capable of going to the deep water, I feel like you can do it on a lot of things, but that's not, you're gonna squat. I'm gonna have someone do extended sets on squat probably, or something along those lines. I mean, cluster sets, something in that realm, something where you're getting a short rest. I guess if I can get more specific, if I want to crush someone's soul, you're gonna do a max rep, or you're going to, and I'm not going to let you quit, and you're going to have all consistent reps. And if it's just not an absolute, dog crap set to failure, it's going to be like, okay, hit 10 reps, work up to a heavy, it's probably going to be some substantial load relative to that person too. But I don't know. If I was just like going to test someone under a little bit smarter parameters, as opposed to like having someone do a 100 rep set and be like, this is the weight we're putting on the bar, find something around 50%. Like, we're going to stand at this bar until you get 100 reps. We'll rest into standing position and then we'll go again. Like, people are way more capable of doing stuff that they would think is impossible than they give themselves credit for. But if I had to do it in a little bit more controlled setting, I'd tell someone that's like, hey, let's work up to your 8 rep max. Leave it on the bar. We're going to do 8 reps. We're going to rest for 15 seconds, and then we're going to go to failure. And then we're going to rest for 15 seconds, and then we're going to go to failure. And we're going to do 3 sets of that. And that might be enough just to at least give me a gauge on someone to go past something like that. But a lot of it too is watching the person, how they're responding to it. You may not you may need to go further, or you may not need to go less. I definitely think there's something to be said with not allowing someone to fully recover, though, when you're doing big things, because being taxed on multiple levels, a strength level, a cardiovascular level, and all of those things kind of coming into play at the same time. Like, that's how when it feels like you're running a marathon and lifting weights at the same time, like that's when soul snatching things come out. I mean, I've snatched a soul with a sled before and some plates, and doing drop sets on sled pushes and things like that, that are on the same level of the mentality it would take to move a squat bar for sure. But it's a little bit harder to control those environments, I think, and be sure of what's going on. But I'm gonna choose the squat bar.
Choose the squat bar. Okay.
Lift is. If someone came on here and be like, "Yeah, I can do it with the deadlift bar," I'd be like, "Yeah, you definitely could. I definitely could."
I can, because I have
for sure, as well. But without any context behind this, I'd feel much more. If I'm gonna snatch someone's soul in a gym without knowing who they are, I'd probably use the sled, because I'm not gonna actually hurt them. Someone that's in a powerlifting gym is like, okay, we're gonna do hard, like real hard squatting. Is that a good answer? Is that all I need to say?
I don't think the majority of people, I would say people who go to a gym 4+ days a week, I think 90% of them don't know what hard squatting is.
They don't.
I don't think they do. And I'm saying that coming from a world where it's like collegiate athletics and then like geared powerlifting.
I mean,
I am.
You haven't broken if you haven't got to the point where you can break blood vessels all the way around your eyes, and
you look like a freckle child.
Yeah. If you haven't done that, you haven't squatted hard. I just don't think. I'd like to see someone prove that rule. But if you haven't experienced like the deafening sound, hit something to failure and you lose your hearing temporarily, there's a whole bunch of little physiological things that transpire when, I don't know, you're pushing the points of like systems are breaking down. We're pulling away from these not important systems to make sure we maintain the basic functions of life. In this point, you start getting your body to those critical points where things are starting to, I don't want to say fail, but it's like hypothermia. Your body starts pulling the blood and the heat to where it's most important. Same thing happens in a lot of physical things. So if you haven't started to see the manifestation of things shutting down when you do a lift to that degree of effort, then you haven't experienced it yet. But I'll let you go.
One of these stories involves me directly. The other one does not. They're both at Westside. Actually, I don't think I've ever told you these stories either, so you'll enjoy these.
I have not prodded you on Westside stuff.
Oh, I know.
I feel like I feel like
people ever do.
What?
Oh yeah.
I thought you were like, I thought that was the thing. Like the allure of Joe Lasko is like everyone can only get their information from a couple documentaries and whatever Louis puts on YouTube.
Isn't that documentary?
So like you're the inside man. I would assume that like you'd have fanboys that just would gather towards you just because they want to ask you questions, because who are they going to ask?
No, I really try not to. I just wish, but then again, I wear things like this because I have a bunch of
selfish.
I have a bunch of splits. I know it is. I'm keeping it from the world. So for those who have been to Westside,
like the Wolf of Wall Street of Westside, the Wolf of Wall Street of Westside. That's what I'm going to call you.
If I had that kind of money, if I only had that kind of money,
it's
by illegal or legal means.
It's money in a sense.
It's a currency that only certain people accept.
Exactly.
Yes. So if you ever go to the Arnold and you come by Westside, like there's a good, really healthy several handfuls of people who are going to squat on Friday morning, dynamic lower.
Okay.
So at this time, this would have been probably 2016. I was still, maybe it was the year before that, 2015. I was still working at Costco. So I would come in like 5 a.m. and I would squat and pull. By the time I'm done squatting and pulling, I'd run the mono lift for those who are going next. Now, people who don't know what a monolift is, there's a handle you release, it releases J cups, and then they can free squat. So that box squat, and they were doing that morning, giant cambered bar with 5 chains on each side. So 5 20-pound chains each side. And of course, it started with the 3 normal people that were normally squatting. And as people came in, people started jumping in. So it got to a point, there were 6 people in this group, which is way too much. Optimally, it's like 2 people. Maximally, it's 3. It's like 6 is way too much.
Yeah,
they're going through it, and there's this guy that's dropped in, huge, just chocolate bear, like huge legs, like wide hips, wide clavicles. He had, the good kind of short arms for benching, but he could also pull. He obviously is a sumo puller because his hips are so big. Like,
yeah.
All right. So they have a plate on there. Everyone goes through, does a double, 2 plates. Everyone goes through the double, 3 plates. 4 plates, 5 plates, they go through, and I want to say probably like 4 or 5 doubles because they're working like 8. And then because there are 6 people, and Jerry McNamara, who's this like Irish like uber stud, he's like 150 pounds, late 50s, squatting what these guys are squatting. He was keeping up with them, very locked in. This huge dude was having trouble, and it was very obvious to me that as I'm unracking this, he's starting with like his hips already cocked back because he just wants to go into the motion. He can't lock it out. So we get to 6 plates on a giant cambered bar with 5 chains per side. I unrack it, and I just watch him just fall to box. The bar comes off his back. Bam! This is in the red monolift. This is like the big dick monolift. Like, yeah. And no one's pissed because he fucking dropped the bar. like they're not pissed about that. They're pissed because now we got to pick the fucking bar back up. The chains are all fucked up. Now they're going to be uneven. We got to re-even them out. We got to start all over again. By the time now we're going to be cold, we got to start from at least 2 plates, work our way back up.
Yeah.
So that guy, and I never saw him again. Never saw him.
Got kicked out of the.
No. So he was a visitor. He was a visitor, but he left after that. And I don't think he came in like the next day. Friday night upper, just didn't come back. The time I remember breaking a soul, there was a CrossFit individual. This would have been like maybe a year before that, a male. And he'd like it was like top 10 in the Central East. And that's when the Central East still had like, Bridges and Froning and oh fuck. Like everyone who was a male, a dude was in Central East. So so if him finishing top 10 is pretty fucking good. I'll be honest.
Right.
Complete cunt.
Yep.
Complete cunt. I can't even emphasize this enough. I don't remember the guy's name, but he was just, you just wanted to beat the shit out of him. And like there are even the women who train on the opposite side, like Joe, who the fuck is that? I don't like him. Like, I don't know. Big Chris Spiegel, who benches like 600 plus raw, his arms, he'd use one of those giant blue bands to do his banded press downs with, as I'm doing with like a mini band. And he laughs at me, like huge arms, bends over to me because he had to bend over to get to the door. He's like, Joe, who the fuck is that bastard over there? Who the fuck is that?
It's funny when everyone knows.
Oh, everyone knows. Everyone knows.
Well, everyone's synced up in a gym like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Where people really train. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing, because like he was training like with me because I weigh 168 and I'm the weakest one in the gym at the time. So it's like, all right. So came max effort lower, and this is like 2 weeks of dealing with this guy. I'm just kind of sick of it at this point. So now I'm just gonna like. Everyone hated him. It's like, Joe, just put the nail in his coffin and fucking end him. I'm like, sure, why not? Right. So Friday, this is still when Fridays we're still hustling, bustling. So instead of doing speed pull, I say we're going to do speed pulls, and we're on top of, we're on top of the box. So the box, that box, that was an 8-inch box, and we had bands. We had like 2 strong bands over it and a light. So it was like 270, 250, 275 band tension at the top. It's 8-inch deficit. We use the cambered bench bar so we can get down there that low. And I remember mashing it. I hit 275 with a 275 band tension for conventional pull. And you should see a look of his face. It was great. It was so awesome. He got to like maybe like 205, 215. And like he got it halfway up. And then it was like at that moment, he realized the bands kick in. That's when he realized he had fucked up. And it just like lowered back down. Didn't drop it. He just lowered it back down, put it down, stood up. He said, no. I'm like, all right, get out. That was it. This sapped his soul. He was gone. Yeah. I've done that. I've had
biggest egos are the easiest ones to get rid of. That tells me that he had a huge ego, because that's what I've experienced too. They remove themselves. So Big Chocolate Bear, that guy, you really didn't have to remove them. They removed themselves, because once you put a chink in someone's ego armor that has made themselves out to be something in their head, and then you make it in real life that they're not that, man, do they fall quickly. That's what I've seen. I've tried to have a couple training partners that legitimately I thought had potential. And yeah. And I'm not, those environments too, and it's just kind of one-on-one. We didn't even get to the point where I really challenged them. They just knew they couldn't consistently show up for the hard days, but they're like, I want to follow, I'm going to do what you're doing. I'm going to follow you. And they consistently couldn't show up. And they'd be like, I can't do that. Like, it's just too hard, or I'm going to do this, or I can't do that weight. So I'm going to do this. And no big deal. Do it. Like, we'll just, not a big deal. Their ego could not handle not keeping up with the pace.
Yeah.
And they removed themselves. It's a self-regulated gym.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then I would say to this guy who asked this question too, if you have a belt squat, you can really do anything in that. That'll break a soul real quick. I broke multiple souls on that. These are people who make tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not close to $1 million, like being professionally fit. I broke souls on that within 5 minutes. I broke souls on that.
Okay. Five soul breaking exercises. What are your top 5 things you go to for soul breaking? Let's just finish with this on as far as this topic goes.
Okay. 5 top soul breakers.
Yeah.
Okay. Pulling against bands from a deficit.
Okay.
Just to show how really bad they are. I'll have them march in the belt squat for 3 minutes. And then after they're done, tell them that in fact, there are track women that use about 8 more plates than they do. And that really disturbs them. And I show them a video, then it really disturbs them. Zercher harness, good mornings in the belt squat no, I'm not done yet. For pyramiding positive to negative with dimes. So they'll start.
Okay, I like that you have a sequence to that one. Yeah.
Oh, I do. No, I do. They'll have like the bar up top, and it's like 10 good mornings. Usually it's like it's like 95 pounds. 10. Yeah. I'll put a dime on. 10. Put a dime on. 10. I'll go.
I used to call those dark zone sets.
Yeah. I'll go to like 10 dimes, and then I'll strip them back down. They do 10. I had Coella do that before. And she just collapsed for 15, 20 minutes.
Is that the proposal story at the end of that?
No. Right, the proposal story, that's a whole other situation. It wasn't even a proposal. It was, hey, do you want to come to Westside with me and work out? I know this is an aside, but like, do you want to come to Westside with me and work out on Saturday night? I get out of Costco. This is like our second date. And she thought she was going to come and like, like work out. Like I usually, like I trained her like one day a week. She's going to like do some stuff like on her own. It wasn't. This was like Heath Ledger Joker tryouts. Yes. Like it was like, I'm gonna break this fucking hockey stick, this pool cue, and then we're gonna do good mornings and we're gonna do good mornings, rough reverse hypers, rough belt squat marches, inverse curl, and if you can put up through all that, then there's an Outback meal in your future. But I digress. That's 3.
I'm speechless.
I know. I have a lot of problems. What can I say? And 4 would be.
That answers a lot of questions that I had.
Yeah,
I had a couple, stirring around, but that explanation of that just solidified a few of the questions I had.
Yeah, you'll meet her eventually. You'll see. You'll see.
I want to meet your parents too. Actually,
they're completely different from what I am. They're both artists. They're artists.
I know. No, I think. Look, I got my own. I did my own typesetting. Me and your father might get along well.
Oh yeah.
I have some experiences.
He loves that stuff.
All right. Okay. So we're 4.
Safety squat bar, static hold with maximal band tension. Okay. Time. That was the last thing I ever saw Lou do in a monolift. Yeah. And then the last one be, it would be a Zercher deadlift from the floor. That's the only lift I've ever done that I've almost passed out from ever.
I like that one because of the sense that like, it's uncomfortable on a third level, which is for a lot of people, it's just like, this hurts. Like it hurts to have the weight in that position here. You're like, cause you get muscle hurt. You get like the taste of blood, and like iron in your mouth.
In my mouth. Yeah, muscles break it down. Yeah.
There's a lot of hurts that you can get, but you add on top of it, like this is digging into my bones type of hurt too. For a lot of people, that's a great one. I like that one.
All right. What are your 5?
I'm gonna do five other ones because we do share a few, especially with that Pit Shark one. But I would say I'm changing my official answer, or I'm adding to my first answer, which is I'd be squatting with chains.
Okay.
I would add chains. Chains are an incredible tool.
Yeah.
Probably a prowler. I've got some pretty damaging effects on a prowler. I'm gonna go with a farmer's carry, but I might make someone either carry a stone or carry the bar straight in their back.
Okay.
One of the most miserable things I ever did was walk a mile with my body weight plus 75 pounds on my back with a straight bar. That was a good gut checker. That I wouldn't have thought. I thought that was going to be an easy thing. That was one of the worst things. I don't even know that I would call that. I don't even know that I'd have someone do that. I had a few people do it. I don't know if I'd do it again. I would, along with you, I would come up with some sort of a band resisted deadlift is just such a great one. You can, that's a great one. If I do number 5, dumbbell lunges. I
Mhm.
just make somebody do dumbbell lunges.
Mhm.
You know, I'd even let them use the grip. The thing with some of those things, like grip fails on doing certain things. I'd let people use, wrist wraps, because like you're not letting the dumbbells go, because like things aren't going to fail in the order that I want them to.
Mhm.
So we're keeping these suckers locked on, and like we're going. I think
Yeah.
the positioning where you let people rest too. If you're walking and you're resting with the bar on your back, and not be able to set the bar down, or trying to get the bar back up, I think that's one of those things. Like at a certain point, like cleaning a weight up and then getting it onto your back. Some of these things, like to get people in them, you gotta organize it a little bit differently to set those scenarios up. It doesn't necessarily have to be a prowler sled either. Pushing a truck,
Mhm.
pushing some stuff. I like that one. I've done a medley of things with pushing something heavy. It doesn't take too long before that you can see the life leaving people's
Mhm.
eyes for sure. So yeah, probably those. I think
That's that's a good one. So like I know this is beyond my 5, but now I got myself thinking. There was a time when I was training CrossFit team here locally that went then ended up going to the games, placing was it 8th in the world, which is their best placing out of 3 times they've been. And I remember their whole team. We had this yoke, and it was the original like Rogue Monster yoke.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out how much it weighed. I added a weight to it, so it's 1,000 pounds. And I said, all right, this is 1,000 pounds. You guys have to move it together as a unit. And on that, there was the old safety squat bar that Lou has that is improperly welded. So it's actually 15 degrees more forward. It's just pressing on your C6 and C4 the entire time. It's incredible. And I hung 3 chains off that. And so, all right, you guys have to push this around the building. Once it gets to the straightaway, which is like 300 meters to the end, stop. Whoever you decide is your studliest has to pick that bar up on a racket off the J cups.
Yep.
Power walk it all the way down, turn around. Once they turn around, you guys have a very limited amount of time to get that yoke here before he collapses. And that was the only time I ever saw that person that they elected. He was like a thick dude. He probably should have played like collegiate football, but like kind of mentally soft. He turned around. He was screaming. He was screaming for them to get there. Screaming.
Yeah.
Put that bar in. He just like dropped to his knees on cement.
Yeah.
Like drew him closer as a unit. He did pretty well that year.
Yep.
Even the ones that didn't believe in what we were doing said, "Oh, everything was really easy that year at the games."
That's
fucking easy.
That's something we can't forget either, because like especially and you bring the team dynamic into CrossFit too, and training a team. Oh man, that's a cool thing, and adds a whole nother layer to how I think you should go about preparing for an event like that too. That's on some level that's an even cooler thing, because it adds so much depth to what's really going on in that arena. But my turn for a question.
Yeah, what do you got?
Let's see here. Let's see, it's a high school training question. A few interesting ones. We're already on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
So I know who this is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll make it a little bit more specific, give her answer for this person. So you're middle age. I'm going to say for the person that's between 35 and 45 that wants to get into CrossFit, things to consider. Where do I go? Do I just join a CrossFit gym? How should I start CrossFit? And this is coming from someone who has no athletic background, no training background. Like they want to get into exercise. No athletic
background at all.
No, they want to get into
They saw it on ESPN. They want to do that.
Correct.
God,
that's it. That's it. This person. What advice do you give that person wanting to get into CrossFit, but doesn't, no training age of any kind, and wants to, they don't want to go to the games, but they want to do CrossFit.
And they don't want to go to the games, but they just want to do CrossFit.
Yeah.
Well, if they just want to do CrossFit, just join a gym.
Okay.
Just join a CrossFit gym. Like this. If you have no aspiration of being competitive at all, it I mean, just find whichever one works out best for your schedule, which one seems to have the most, like, I don't want to say competent coaching, but definitely progressive coaching. Some gyms are very just like, this is how we do it. Everything. This is not a gym. This is called a box. That's key number one. If you hear that, don't go there. Like, I would definitely say just, I don't want to say find one that has best reviews, because you can have ones with great reviews, but I mean, the majority of them all give, like day or week passes. I would spend probably the better part of a month just kind of gym hopping and see which one jives with you. So you roll in, you just feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable there, it's the best scenario. If you're looking to be competitive, I really think you need to just think about I'm going to train 4 days a week. I'm going to do a main lift, 2 auxiliaries to complement it. And I'm going to spend, 15, 20 minutes conditioning with something just monostructural. So just like one thing, not jumping, not doing, CrossFit medleys or 3 bars, just on a rower for time, running one, maybe I'm not a big runner, but something of that nature. Just really straightforward and just get better at that. And then with time, your strength will take over and you won't get as many injuries as a lot of CrossFitters do, or first starters do when they just join a CrossFit gym. They just end up getting nicked and nacked all the time. And it's a recurring theme that everyone in CrossFit is always injured. Mm-hmm. Even the top men and women, they're getting their knees scoped and you're not hearing about it.
Right.
This is it's a normal thing because you are getting into a sport in which the majority of programming is not done properly. And it is high intensity and high volume all the time. And they try to have those two go up while frequency is kind of doing this.
Right.
And that doesn't work like that. You have those 3 variables and one can go up. Maybe 3 can do that for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then after that, one of them is going to start suffering. And that's when you start getting injured.
Yeah. So this is a very common thing in bodybuilding that guys will, especially at the top level, take a month off, like nothing, mm-hmm. don't do anything.
Yeah.
What would you advocate saying the CrossFitter is a competitive one or has competitive aspirations, even if it's just at the local level, mm-hmm. That it is competing kind of year round, training like that year round. What do you think if you were to lay out a schedule, like a yearly schedule for a CrossFit athlete on the recovery side of things? Do you think that they should be taking more time off, like deliberate time off, doing less or deloading for longer periods of time? Or I don't know, what's your thought on that? This is my question.
No. I think if from everything I've seen, the levels I've seen it at, whenever I work with any athlete, as long as they're competent and competitive, like if they can be a junior varsity quarterback, but if they're competent and competitive, I'm going to treat them like Tom Brady, because that's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to treat you like that. And if you can't handle the treatment like that, then it's just back to our strength coach conversation. This game probably isn't for you. If you can't handle what's going on the top level and you want to be competitive, if you're just doing it for fun, then But if you got to be able to take the heat.
Yeah. There's no B quarterbacks in the NFL that ever got there by planning to be a B.
Right.
Like
no one thought I'm going to be back up to Tom Brady. Like, no, one thought that shit.
I think this is an important thing that people need to recognize in all these things. I hear people in like power lifters too. They're like, I just want to be as good as this guy. It's like, everyone's goal.
Ed Cohen, huh? Oh,
everyone's goal should be, I want to get straight A's, and I'm going to shoot to get straight A's, because if you shoot to get straight B's, you're going to get a D. You can pray to God that if you shoot to get an A, you might get a B. In most things. So and any coach that takes a standpoint of like, oh, well, I got a few things going, so I'll train like there's no training someone like a B. There's no training someone like a C, in my opinion. Like, you definitely can do it, but that doesn't resonate with me. Like it can't be done in my framework of how I organize things in my head. So everyone has to be preparing for A's, and whatever happens.
Yeah.
But
so I think it with that in mind, that I've never been a fan of deloading in general. because everyone I work with, everything is just so meticulously just feathered out. Never needed to. Now, some people, if they're not taking, life seriously and they're not recovering, their stress is too high, they're not hydrating, they're not sleeping, then I guess you do. I mean, this is kind of as an aside, but I've always told people, if you ever need to do a deload, I want you to think about it as a reload. I want you to think of it as someone else. If your competition is deloading that week and they're taking the bullets out of their gun, the shells out of their gun, you're putting bullets back in your gun. And so you're going to be a step ahead of them.
Yep.
That's how I tell them to always think about it. Think about it as a reload, not a deload.
Yep.
I think in CrossFit, I think on the whole, and this is a relative term in my mind, the intensity on training is rather low on the whole. Not saying that top men and women aren't. I'm saying that when I look at the majority of people, when they're going through a lift and they get to that point where they have to start straining and start trying, they just stop. So I think if the intensity can be higher and volume's a little lower on the weights, I think that will benefit the majority of people more in terms of road mileage on their joints and strength progression down the road, not only in the present. And that way you can also put out more energy on your conditioning if you need to condition. And I think there should be a legitimate period after the open, after the regional, or after the games, however far you get, 2 to 3 months, where you're just purely worried about strength. There really is next to no conditioning other than to keep your appetite where it needs to be. It's just pure, unadulterated, just get your mind back right and just pure strength. Set a new level. It may not be an all-time high, but as long as it was higher than what it was last year at that time, you're winning. Yeah. And I think that 2 to 3 months for the majority of CrossFit who does everything 2 to 3 times a day, if you're just training 4 or even 5 times a week for 2 to 3 months, that in of itself is a great giant reload period where if you're keeping nutrition where it needs to be, keep the sleep where it needs to be, and you're managing your stress, you're just going to skyrocket for the next 4 to 5, which leads you into the open.
Nope. I have nothing to add to that.
Okay. No,
not a thing.
No, because I try to do everything all the time. It's not.
You answered two. You answered 2 questions, I think, too, because there was another one that was on the how much rest should I be getting. That could be answered in multiple days, like between actual sleep at night and days between training. But I think it's obviously that's specific to your program. I have some kind of out of the gate rules that I use for that without knowing, but I have found that CrossFitters, especially, like there's some superhumans in that world that they recover quicker than the average human.
Do they now?
And I don't think, I mean, some of it, I think I've noticed when I get really, I was just about to say when I really get CrossFit. And what I mean is like, I'm strong. I think it's a big thing. Like my endurance is probably at its peak. I notice I don't have to sleep as much. And I feel, recovered to the same degree with less sleep. The more, I guess I would say, generally fit I get, as opposed to just being like really, really strong.
Well, your blood pressure is happier.
Right.
You're getting more oxygen where you need to get it. Yeah.
Yes. So I found I guess that's a big thing for me is like, cause if anything gets out of balance with me, I'll lean toward the strength side and the muscle mass side, and let other things go to the wayside, or at least specifically train for them. So when I get my really get my lungs in good shape, and start training for endurance, I don't have to sleep quite as much. And I've started to get addicted to the added benefit of how I feel, when I'm in that kind of shape. Anyhow, it's definitely dictated by frequency, and there's a lot of factors that go into that, but I'll peruse through these, because I definitely have more questions if we have time for them.
Oh yeah, sure.
Got another one.
Yeah, I got another 20, 25 minutes. So okay. I mean, I think one thing too, it's really missing, you're talking about like leaning towards that that strength and muscle side, especially in the CrossFit world. I remember we had this one guy at the gym I worked at for a long time. He was very good at competitively working out. It was very good. It was very good. And he and I did share an understanding that maybe he and I weren't the most skilled at the sports we played, but we could push to that level that allowed us to make the team, that allowed us to continue. I remember he always had a problem with certain overhead pressing movements. And when I came on staff there, I worked with him, leading up to the games. And when I came on staff there, I remember even asking me what I thought. And I said, I think you just need to go to Gold's Gym once a week. You need to get some fun pump drugs from Vitamin Shop and just hit shoulders and triceps, maybe some upper back, really just have fun and just put muscle mass on. Nowhere else. He had legs like a tree, legs for days. Like good solid midsection. Honestly, his lower lats from always pulling, it's fine. You keep the bar close, it's fine. But just the stability of the upper back, he kept having shoulder problems because he had no upper back, no rear delts. He had not the triceps he needed for his body weight wasn't there. And he just never did it. And for those 3, actually going on 4 years before he declared he was gonna, retire from competitive CrossFit. Yeah. He never got any better at it ever. And because he never put muscle, he kept chasing this sexy, I'm gonna find programming somewhere that's gonna fix it. Like, dude, you just need to put muscle on. Right. I don't tell you need to progressively overload your triceps out the hiney. Like I mean, like, for example, so I keep going back to her, but like Coelho's biggest issue when
I love when there's meathead solutions to things.
Oh no, it's not a meathead solution. It's a scientific solution. It's like you don't have muscle mass.
I know
you're using your rotator cuff.
I know that, and you know that. I've been ostracized before for giving responses to things like this.
No, it's just true.
So it feels really.
It's physiology. It's how the body works. So she hasn't done a bar muscle up or a ring muscle up in a year. All right, she's completely stopped. She's like, I'm just kind of burnt out. All right. Okay. So she just goes in, she does like push pull legs, that kind of thing, and just kind of like progressively overloading. And I'm adjusting her program as she goes along. Yeah. She goes to Boston for a week. She does CrossFit for the first time in her life, the first time in a year, for a week straight. And she's very Brazilian looking, like she's got a huge lower body. And it's like she came back. She didn't come back. She called me on Thursday night. She came back on Saturday, come on Thursday night, and she says, so I've been in CrossFit this whole week. I'm like, hey, how's it going? She's like, really well. I absolutely am the best at burpees I've ever been in my life. And she's a marathon runner. She's done the Boston Marathon. She was going to do Paris Marathon before the world shut down. Like, she has endurance, but like muscle mass didn't really exist. It's like, I'm popping off the ground on all these burpees. My triceps and delts are absolutely fine. I can then go into a heavy push press if I had to. I jumped on a bar for the first time in a year, and I'm stringing, depending on how fresh I am, like 5 or so odd together every time I touch the bar. And I'm not fatigued. I drop down because my grip, my hand, like I don't have my gymnast grips, so I'm just like stripping my hands off on a steel bar. I'm like, actually, it's funny. I'm actually working with, since I got back, I'm working with a girl that's been to the games a couple times, now at my gym, and it's just, she's concerned. She's a hoss. She can yank 225 off the ground and power clean it, but she can't keep the bar close to save her life. So snatch is like 175, it stops there. So it's just teaching her how to use her lats, activate her lats in a 180 degree, plane, with a pullover or with like certain types of pull downs, prime grip pull downs, whatever you're going to be. And like, that's really it. It sounds really like people think you need this really big, sexy,
it's not magic
plan to, the small knob of snatching. You need something crazy. Like, no, you don't. You just need to learn how to use your lats and hold that bar close to you. But that's a big issue I see. Just people, they refuse to dive into another world, which they claim that, well, we're good at everything. We're average at everything. We're moderate at everything. Well, you're obviously not, because you can't do a tricep push down to save your life.
Right.
Like just basic bodybuilding, just putting mass on.
Yeah. Well, and when you're starting to break down to like common movements that you see in that sport, you're going to get common things that are neglected in it too. And you see people get pigeonholed into being good at a few good things. And those movements definitely are, I mean, everything's going to give you a deficit. I think that's the real trick. And the thing that I brought to bodybuilding is you'd like utilizing bodybuilding as corrective exercise for all the issues that you might see. Or derivatives of what I would have called the bodybuilding exercise, because you wouldn't have saw it present in a collegiate weight room, 10 years ago, at least not in any of the ones that I was present in. But everything's a tool. Everything's a tool for sure. Everything works and nothing works forever. I mean, that is one of those just truisms of it. But you got a question?
I do. Let me ask you one more question.
Okay.
All right. What's the biggest issue you see in the strength world? That was a really open-ended question.
I declined. That's a good one. I declined to answer that question.
You declined?
I'm kidding. We already answered it. We got too many whistle coaches.
Absolutely.
Wait, say it again, because I wasn't paying attention.
What's the biggest issue you see in the strength world?
In the strength world, defining the strength world, I guess, is important. I should define the strength world.
Let's say absolute strength, like powerlifting or just collegiate athletics, just being able to be more athletic.
What is the biggest problem?
They did say issue. But if you want to take it as a problem, maybe we can take it as a problem.
Issue. The issue is in the tissue. Oh gosh, this is one of those ones where I'll say something I'm like, no, I like that better. As far as issues, I mean,
I have my answer. You want me to field mine first?
Yeah.
I have.
You previewed this question. This is
I got it 4 days ago. I got it 4 days ago.
Yeah, this is the hard thing about answering questions on the spot without editing this stuff.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of things. I get tossed out 10. It's not coming up the thing. It's like,
I'm not going to edit this. It takes too much time.
Which one do I? I mean, that was the whole point. Is this can it?
Yeah. So when it comes to, I take it as a two-pronged thing. When it comes to strength athletics versus just like physique bodybuilding, I think there's a lot that can be taken from either one to play across the field to either one that they just don't do. So we just discussed that with CrossFit, where it's like they just don't do isolation, strict isolation, just building the muscle of the weak area that they need. They just don't do it. And on the opposite side of the world, like if I don't think they care about this, but I do, so I'm gonna say it. I don't think the majority of people who are in the world of physique bodybuilding, whatever that's gonna be, do heavy enough weights to generate like that type of look, that dense look. Like you have guys like Jordan Peters or Ian Valier, like they're like pulling 8 plates for reps, and they're fucking dense. They just look dense, a whole other level. Conversely, you have people in the strength world, again, like CrossFit world, you look at like their bodies are incomplete. And I'm not saying incomplete physiques. I'm saying the body works in unison, especially in athletics, in a very, very, very big way. And if it's not all together, you're going to have issues. You're going to have injuries. So I think you look at athletics, there's definitely room to grow, no pun intended, with hypertrophy in certain areas, depending on whatever realm of that strength that you're thinking of. So
yeah. I'm probably going to go with that because I like that subject. Can you hear that? That low thunder in the background?
Yeah,
it's real life. Because you're actually presenting something like this is an issue and it's something that can be corrected. My initial thing that I was going to say, because the world of strength in general is obviously being influenced heavily by social media, probably YouTube, because we've accumulated a lot of gurus on subjects, and these kind of go hand in hand, because I do think that's the thing. We're fighting against each other as opposed to having conversations that we can take from each other and utilize it, because you're hitting at the heart of things, like people that are struggling to make progress in ways. It's because they're getting locked into one thing, or they have their identity attached to how they're training and what they're doing, as opposed to being open-minded and pulling from everything that exists. Hard to do because there's gurus and there's a lot of worshiping of certain people and what they're doing. And a lot of those people are charlatans, selling,
good word.
Selling snake oil.
Good word. Yeah.
It's hard to address because, that's what we see just on the regular. I will not go on a tangent as much as I want to. That's what we see on this global stage as far as what's going on in society. We have way too much information. We don't know what's accurate, and you'll go insane trying to figure out, well, I just want the truth. I just want to know what's really going on.
Yeah.
That same thing is being perpetuated in the strength community, which is there's now so much information. As someone coming into it that doesn't know, or maybe I'm coming into it with my predisposed ideas of this is who I am and this is what I like to do, so I'm going to get my information from the people who identify with me. People are inclined to get this cognitive bias in their search for how to get better or how to improve on any level in the strength realm. And I think that it's easy to get lost in that. And then it's also easy to, find a guru. And once you've found your guru, you're going to, not pay attention to anyone else because they're giving you the answers that you want and you're a disciple of them. It's not necessarily a bad thing because there's some good people that pass on good information, but when it becomes dogmatic, that's when it's a bad thing. When it creates a closed mind, vibe to where you're unable to pull the good tidbits from and cross pollinate with other avenues in the strength realm. It's not a good thing anymore because we have something to learn and take and teach from all those realms, because that's what we're talking about in sport. We're bastardizing Olympic lifting. We're bastardizing bodybuilding. We're bastardizing powerlifting, and we make this amalgamation of this is what strength and conditioning is. And now we have all these other things that you can kind of pull from CrossFit that kind of influences things now, to, I think endurance and the mobility and the corrective exercise thing has now been on everyone's mind for a while now. So we talk about that too. And people just have to be open-minded and take as much as they can from everything and try to take in all the information and do the best job they can to make sense of what's good and what's bad. That's the real challenge there. But yeah, you're right. I agree with it. That's an issue that can be, I think the biggest issue is negativity. This is like the most positive, like all we're trying to do in any one of those realms is make progress. You don't make progress in a negative environment. So people that are doing anything to create a negative environment or not just absolutely be positive or push things in a progressive direction, like that's the biggest problem I see in the strength community. Competition is a wonderful thing, but when we get sidetracked and get too political about things and start picking sides on stuff, and really get serious about it, it starts to degrade the good stuff that's really going on. And yeah, it's one of those things that YouTube especially, there's been a lot of negativity perpetuated by stuff where it's even people that started in a good place and put out good content, and we're trying to, I think, kind of connect some things like you were talking about and take from the strength world and apply some stuff in the bodybuilding world and how we can utilize stuff. Biggest one I'd say is bodybuilders that are weak bodybuilders. Natural bodybuilders are probably the biggest culprit of this.
Yeah.
I have the best, I don't know if I've said this before, the absolute best natural bodybuilders that I have ever seen are
Oh yeah.
strong
Yeah.
as
Bulls.
all
Oh yeah.
hell.
Oh yeah.
They are
Yep.
so strong. And guess what? When they're shredded at 4%, they're
Yeah.
stronger than all the other natural bodybuilders in their peak
Yeah.
because they're lifting heavy shit. Once you figure out your muscle type, you might spend a little bit more time, doing this absurdly high volume because
Right.
that's what works for you. But the foundation for every good natural bodybuilder that I have met, first person competed with or follow myself, they're strong.
Yeah.
Like really strong. And if people saw them training in the gym, they wouldn't think they were on steroids because of how big their muscles are. They'd think they're on steroids because they actually saw how much weight the dudes move.
Yeah.
Like really move.
Yeah.
And that's why strength is the foundation for everything. And yeah, no, I love that one. We'll have more conversations on that for sure, because that is one of those ones that, like, if there is a mark being missed, probably in everything, people aren't strong enough.
No.
And they don't realize how strong they can really be. People let ideas from the outside. This is I'm still going on tangent, but they let ideas of gurus on YouTube put ideas in their head. Like that's the parameters that they can work in. And there's all these false glass ceilings that, people in the comment section just say like, oh, well, I could do that too if I had steroids, or I could do that too if I had the same free time. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nonsense. Like, you just need to be more consistent and get as strong as humanly possible. And then you'll answer most in the pursuit of getting as strong as you possibly can. You will answer your own questions.
Yeah. I think again, it's like a cross the column thing, but I think Chris Cito once said, I think he's quoted in saying that X, Y, and Z looks really good, but now too many yellow machines, and just like their physique just goes away because they just stopped like using free weights. And like you've seen my red room, if you will. Like it's a giant. It's 3,600 square feet of toys. I like toys, but at the same time, at the end of the day, like I'm gonna put a bar on your back. You're gonna learn how to barbell row. We're gonna learn how to dumbbell press, bench press, incline press. We're gonna learn how to RDL.
That's it.
We're just gonna put the mass on you. Good, dense, great. Like I don't know. Like look at
that's
like a
my
lot of
style
Olympic
too.
lifter. Yeah,
I love all those tools.
Yeah,
I love all of them, but that's not the foundation.
No,
at all.